Okay, this game was absolutely wild. And again, this was a real game, but the names are censored for the privacy of the individuals involved here. We don't want to shame them. We don't want to humiliate them because they're just learning chess, just like we are. So the game begins with e4, and that's followed by e5. Knight to f3, knight to f6, and this is known as the Russian defense, or the Petrov's defense. And the idea is for white to take the pawn, and black will chase away the knight, and then black will regain his pawn. But instead, white plays bishop to c4, which is the first inaccuracy out of many in this game. And instead of taking this pawn, which is the best move, as shown by the engine, black instead plays d5, attacking the bishop, which isn't a horrible move, but it's not the best move. Pawn takes, and now black sacrifices a pawn with c6. And this is also given in inaccuracy. And we have d takes. And instead of taking with a knight, black here goes knight to g4 without any ideas. I don't see any ideas here. White can castle, and this isn't really a threat if white castles, because the bishop isn't developed yet. The queen can't go to d4, so the queen can't go here, and the bishop is still on f8, so I don't know what this knight is doing here. But in response, white goes, oh, I see black has moved his knight to g4. What if I move my knight to g5? And this is a huge blunder because queen takes will win a free knight. But instead, we have knight takes f2, another blunder. And this just gives away a knight because white doesn't even need to take with the king. White can instead go queen to f3, threatening checkmate. And then this knight won't escape. This knight has no way to escape because, for example, if you take the rook, then this is checkmate. And the game is over. But instead, in this game, white takes with a king. And now the king is in the middle of the board, and this is also a blunder because the king is in the middle of the board, and this knight is still hanging. After that, we have queen to f6, check, which is evidently another blunder because the knight can escape back. And also white has this interesting move, which is queen to f3, which also blocks a check. And if we have queen to f3, can't even take the knight because we have queen takes f7 check, and then c7, which is checkmate. Checkmate with a pawn, and this is quite impressive. But white doesn't find that, and white instead moves the knight back to f3, which isn't a horrible move in and of itself, because the knight is safe now, and white still has a sizable advantage, but this is given a miss. And now we have bishop to c5 check, which is a great move by black, utilizing white's exposed king to attack the king. And now the king goes to e2, which is a blunder because the king should have moved back to safety. And going to e2 blocks the queen here, and the king is still relatively exposed. And with moves like e4, black can quickly break apart the position, and white's position will fall into shambles. And this is followed by e4, so black plays the best move. And we have queen to f1, sacrificing the knight. But to be fair, white is currently up a knight, so this isn't that bad as shown by the eval, so this is only an inaccuracy. We have pawn takes, and after pawn takes, which is pretty bad, you should have taken with the queen, because this pawn is going to be weak, and also with the queen out. After trading, white's king isn't in that much trouble anymore because the queen was the main attacking piece here and could pose quite a few dangers to white. But we have g takes, and then we have castles, which is a good move by black. So the rook can come out now. And we have rook to g1, sacrificing a rook. It's a very positional sacrifice because I don't know why white did this. And we have knight takes c6, ignoring the sacrifice rook, and the rook is still hanging. We have b3 sacrificing another rook, and it seems that that white really loves hanging rooks. But the thing is, black doesn't take either rook and plays knight to d4 check, forcing white's king back. And we have rook to e8, and neither of these rooks are hanging anymore, but black is still evidently winning because white's king is stuck in the center, black's king is safe, and black has all of these pieces that are about to attack white's position. Whoops, the queen doesn't go that way. Queen goes like that. And right here we have bishop to b2. This is a nice move. It pins the knight to the queen. And after this, we have knight takes f3, sacrificing the queen and attacking the rook. I just don't think black saw it here, because for beginners, it is quite hard to see pins, but this should have been pretty obvious. Why did white move the bishop here? It's evidently to pin the knight to the queen, right? But we have knight takes f3, bishop takes f6, which is the best move, taking advantage of the hanging queen, and we have knight takes rook. We have queen to g2, and I really like this move because now this pawn is pinned again, so this bishop is actually safe. It cannot be taken, or else the king will be exposed, and the king cannot be exposed, or else that'll be an illegal move. But right here, another threat that white is making is checkmate on g7. And I think black saw checkmate, because black tried to move his king out of the way, but this is a huge blunder, because after queen takes g7, this is checkmate,